Congress has until Friday to avert a government shutdown. As the deadline looms, we're learning of potential implications locally. What OMSI is doing in the meantime.
This is KATU News at 6 on your side.
And now they're looking for an off-ramp. That off-ramp makes Oregon unsafe.
This is brand new tonight at 6. Sex assault survivors and advocates blasting Oregon's solution to address a backlog of thousands of unclassified sex offenders in the state. The state has no idea how likely those people are to commit new sex crimes. Good evening. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Steve Dunn.
I'm Deborah Knapp. KATU investigator Wright Gasaway is on your side tonight with the story. This affects thousands of sex offenders.
It does, and the parole board is under a legislative deadline. It must do risk assessments on about 12,500 sex offenders living, working, or going to school in Oregon by December 1st next year. The intention is to find out how likely these people are to commit new sex crimes. However, agency leaders say that's not possible to meet that deadline due to funding and staffing. It's putting forward two solutions instead. Let's start with Senate Bill 821. Simply removes the deadline. Critics say the state is trying to kick the can down the road. Senate Bill 820 is much more controversial. It actually limits the backlog to two groups of people. First, people under 35 years old as of next January. Second, people with two or more sex crime convictions. The parole board will continue to classify people getting out of prison or moving into Oregon as well. The state would not do risk assessments on anyone else in the unclassified category. Critics panned the parole board's solutions.
And I will tell you, if these bills pass this legislative session, we will never get oversight or power back over the sex offender registry and how it works.
And it just makes the problem go away. But the problem will always be there, and it will get worse, and it will get worse.
I cannot protect children if violent, high-risk offenders are allowed to attend my practices, to attend my games, to attend the pizza parties. It's just unacceptable.
The parole board says the backlog would shrink from about 12,500 people to about 3,700 people. It says research shows younger offenders and people with multiple convictions are the most dangerous. The parole board says even with a reduced backlog, it still likely will not meet the 2026 deadline. Here's board chairperson John Bailey testifying at the Capitol last week.
The board has never been funded to be able to meet that deadline. Not even a significant influx of resources at this point will allow us to meet that deadline. As always, the board is committed to focusing our resources on classifying the existing registrant population as quickly as we can with available resources, focusing on the populations who are more likely to be riskier for sexual recidivism.
Last year, lawmakers did not approve a request to give the parole board an additional $6 million that would, in part, have been used to address the backlog. The state says neither bill removes the requirement for anyone to register as a sex offender. This would just limit risk assessments for classification purposes. Deb?
Right, thank you. A KATU investigation previously found a level 3 sex offender in New York moved to Oregon and remained unclassified. Following our reporting, Republican Senator Cedric Hayden sponsored legislation to force the parole board to accept classification levels from other states. The bill has not been scheduled for a committee hearing. KATU will stay on your side through the session to see what lawmakers do. Do you have a story for Wright? You can email him at KATUinvestigates@KATU.com or leave a voicemail 503-231-4205.
We have new information tonight. A former Milwaukee police sergeant pleads not guilty to child sex abuse charges. John Foreman was arraigned in court today. Clackamas County deputies began investigating him last January, and the Milwaukee Police Department put him on leave. A grand jury chose to indict him last week on 7 counts of encouraging child sex abuse and 2 counts of attempting to encourage child sex abuse. Foreman turned himself in on Friday. His bail is set at $150,000.
We need genuine accountability and real results for our students now. Oregon students cannot wait for us to get this right down the road.
In the 2025 session, Oregon Democratic leaders pushing for a bill that would bring more accountability to school districts statewide.
The bill would create a tiered system that would implement trainings and changes for struggling districts. KATU's Vasily Varlamos is live in Salem with more. Vasily?
Yeah, Governor Kotek, House Speaker Julie Fahey, and Senate President Rob Wagner all speaking in support of this bill at a press conference earlier today. The governor saying that the bill would give schools more resources while also holding them accountable.
Democratic leadership supporting a bill aiming to bring more accountability to school districts statewide. The bill requires districts report education performance metrics publicly. House Speaker Julie Fahey says the recent poor testing outcomes from Oregon students are unacceptable.
These reforms that we are proposing will ensure that school districts receive the resources and the support they need so that teachers can deliver the high-quality education our students deserve.
The bill would create a tiered intervention system. After 3 years of underperforming, a district would enter an intensive coaching program. Districts would be assigned a team of education experts specializing in school improvement and regular monitoring of student data. Teachers and administrators would undergo trainings to improve student engagement, learning environments, instructional techniques, and more. If a district underperforms for 4 straight years, the Department of Education would take direct control of up to 25% of a district's state funding to make sure the funds are being properly administered. Governor Kotek was asked about the state's plans for that funding if a district did underperform for that long.
Well, I would hope no school district goes to year 4 where we have to manage their dollars for them. But that is, I mean, like if we have districts who are completely not making it, that's the ultimate, stick that we would have.
No Republicans could speak on camera, but in a written statement, the Senate Republicans office says if we truly want to improve education in Oregon, we should be looking at ways to empower parents, local school boards, and educators rather than consolidating control within an unelected bureaucracy that has overseen declining outcomes for years.
Now, there was a public hearing on the bill earlier this afternoon. We'll continue to keep you updated as this bill moves through the legislature. For now in Salem, Vasily Varlamos, KATU News.
Vasily, thank you for that. Other news now, a suspect arrested 8 months after a vicious dog attack appeared in court today. Alexandria Hendon is charged with owning dangerous dogs. The attack happened last July near a homeless encampment in North Portland. The victim had to have her arm amputated and also lost an eye. Hendon is one of 2 women facing charges for the attack. She pleaded not guilty in court.
She is reserving all rights that were read into the record this morning. She is entering a plea of not guilty to all counts in this case.
Police are still trying to track down the second suspect. The dogs involved in the attack are being held by animal control.
Tonight, we're working to learn more about the condition of a young hit-and-run victim struck this morning. It happened around 7:15 near Southeast 148th and Clinton. First responders tell us the victim was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. It's unclear how old they are. Police say the vehicle involved left before they got there.
Tonight, the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office is clearing up some rumors about the search for a missing 2-year-old in Siletz. They say there's been a report of a white van being seen in the area 2 weeks before Dane Paulson went missing, but they say they don't have evidence linking the vehicle to the search or the investigation. Paulson disappeared from the front yard of his family's home on March 1st. Deputies say crews are still focusing on the Siletz River near the home, and officials say they've already combed 14 miles of the river. The Lincoln County Major Crimes Team and the FBI are assisting with leads, but officials say no evidence to suggest criminal activity was involved.
Well, new information. The state of Oregon says there's not enough money to go around when it comes to funding for addiction recovery programs under Measure 110.
In fact, today we've learned less than half of the requests for funding will be met, partly due to a drop in marijuana taxes. KATU's Christina Giardinelli is live now in Southeast Portland to break it all down. And Christina, some counties are unhappy with their slice of the pie.
Yeah, that's right. They feel that funding formula should be based on the size of the county, and they want to see that formula changed immediately. Advocates for Measure 110 are open to potential changes for the formula, but want the current funding to stay as is. Post-pandemic demand for cannabis in Oregon is down, along with its price tag. Marijuana tax revenue going to recovery providers under Measure 110 in Oregon is predicted to decrease by $100 million over the next 4 years.
We also lost the $40 million in law enforcement savings.
Tara Hurst with Health Justice Recovery says with recriminalization, police are no longer saving on drug enforcement. That means many requests for funding under Measure 110 will go unmet.
There was $1.1 billion in asks, and there was only $427 million in available cannabis tax revenues.
The money will fund approximately 220 organizations statewide, like El Jardín. The recovery organization's executive director, Fernando Peña, says the goal is to provide life-saving services for Latinos in the community.
As far as services go, we average at our recovery centers about 3 to 5 new drop-in clients a day, basically. Our harm reduction outreach team has distributed easily 6,000 to 7,000 doses of Narcan over the past 12 months.
Some counties are not happy with their allocation and want to see changes to the Measure 110 funding formula. Washington, Clackamas, and Marion County have all voiced support for a proposed bill that would do just that. Marion County Commissioner Danielle Bethel says it would take the county's size into account.
We don't have enough funds to be able to meet the entire need. So we want the metric to change to look at the population and what our actual need is from an evidence-based system so it can be fair and transparent.
Now, Bethel says they're pushing for Senate Bill 610 to go into effect immediately and to change the current funding cycle. Advocates for Measure 110, like Hearst, say they're open to changes in the future, but they want the funding for the organizations right now to stay the same. Live in Southeast Portland, Cristina Giardinelli, KATU News.
Christina, thank you for that. And still ahead on KATU News tonight, Congress has until Friday to avert a government shutdown. As the deadline looms, we're learning of potential implications locally. What OMSI is doing in the meantime. Dave?
Well, mostly dry skies to start your work week, but get set for some much wetter weather and some lower elevation snow as well. All those forecasts are coming right up.
The next time you're traveling, driving on I-5 or 205, take a look around. You might notice a special sign on the side of the interstate for the next month. 2 area students just won competitions as a part of ODOT's Work Zone Safety Program. So you'll see a "Don't Rush Through, Lives Depend on You" sign on I-5 created by a student from Sam Barlow High School. But I caught up with a Grant senior, Dash Stanton, about his design. It's called Game Over. Work zones are not game zones. His sign even noted an alarming 891 deaths on Oregon roads in 2022.
There's a scary number of people who get hurt on the road or are even killed, and that's workers on the road, that's drivers. And it was kind of shocking to research it and see those numbers. So it's to say it's not a game. Going fast isn't cool. You got to slow down, turn down your music, really lock in, especially when there are people on the road in front of you telling you what to do.
The spring 2025 contest application period is now open. If you know a creative student, ODOT encourages you to have them apply.
Let's take a live look now at the nation's capital. Congress looking at a deadline to fund the government by the end of the week. House Republicans unveiling a resolution that could extend government funding through September.
But Democratic leaders are not on board. KATU's Allison Gottlieb is at the live desk. Allison, you're tracking some potential impacts at the local level.
That's right. OMSI, a place where Oregonians go to learn while having fun, has now pressed pause on many projects. OMSI says they have paused around 20 federally funded projects as of March 1st. The projects are at varying stages of completion, and we reached out to OMSI to find out which projects were impacted. While we don't have a list of all the projects, we did confirm their wildlife and human health exhibit is paused. It's funded by the Science Education Partnership Award to help understand research as well as impacts of wildfires. That project is meant to reach all audiences with a special emphasis on youth underrepresented in STEM ages 11 to 17. KATU did receive a statement from OMSI President Aaron Graham saying in part, the paused projects are important to both OMSI and our partners with whom we're working, and we truly hope our previously awarded funding is honored. We are planning multiple scenarios and continuing to advance the initiatives funded by private philanthropy and our operations. We'll be continuing to follow the story as it unfolds this week. Steve, Deb.
Allison, what are the next steps here?
OMSI says they will reassess the pauses this Friday, March 14th, when Congress decides on a resolution or a budget to fund the federal government. At the live desk, Allison Gottlieb, KATU News.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk. Recently, near Myrtle Beach, one of the many helicopters collecting water to fight wildfires chopped up enough spray at the perfect morning sun angle to create this vibrant rainbow, which naturally disappeared as the helicopter flew away. The sunset yesterday in New York State was a deep fiery red, while sunrise today in Washington State was a little less ominous.
For more content like this, subscribe to the National Weather Desk's YouTube channel.
Turning now to Storm Tracker 2 weather, and let's take a live look across our region. Now, I'll tell you right now, the rain is coming back, and it's here to stay for a while.
It is. Meteorologist Dave Selesky is tracking the wet forecast ahead, and maybe some good news for spring break skiers.
I think some very good news for spring break skiers, and the cool part about this is I know you guys are kind of, not happy about the daylight saving time, but we are getting post-PM sunsets, which is great out there. Take a look at this. Here we go. Live camera shallow in out at the Long Beach Peninsula. Again, there you go. Take a look at that shot up at Ocean Shores. 46 degrees. Again, cloudy skies there. Move the camera around. Touch mark up on the West Hills. Got a few sun breaks out there looking out towards the Coast Range. Partly cloudy skies in 50. And how about down in Wine Country at Stoller? Overcast skies there. A little sun break out towards the Coast Range and 48 on a thermometer this hour. We did hit 52 degrees here in the Portland area today. Again, that's below average for this time. There should be about 55, 56 degrees. It was right at 50 in Vancouver. Only 49 this afternoon for Troutdale. 43 for Estacada. 47 in Salem. McMinnville topped out at 48 degrees down in the valley. So here's the satellite map. And again, quiet today. Have a cold front right here moving into the northwest that will begin to bring increasing clouds overnight and wetter weather arriving as well. Here's radar, a little bit of light shower activity up on the north coast around Seaside and Astoria, but a whole lot more of that on the way, especially beginning by tomorrow afternoon as the system begins to move into the northwest. So here's our hour-by-hour forecast. There we are tomorrow morning around 7:30. Dry skies, but there's that front, moves across the area. So by about 5:30 tomorrow afternoon, rain developing, continues all night on Tuesday. We go into Wednesday morning, we're looking at a fair amount of soggy skies for the coast, the Willamette Valley, heavier rain down in parts of southern Oregon, and of course snow coming to the Cascades as well. Snow about 3,500 feet for tomorrow, and a lot of it moving into the area by Wednesday. Snow levels later this week could be as low as about 1,500 feet. Winter weather advisory going up in the Cascades beginning Wednesday all the way through until Thursday, and there we're talking maybe upwards, perhaps upwards of a foot of snow possible from tomorrow through the latter part of the week. Now, rainfall, get a load of this. So from tomorrow afternoon through Wednesday, now into Thursday at 6 p.m. On the coast, we're talking over an inch of rain, and in the Willamette Valley, anywhere from 9/10 to 1.3 inches of rain for right along the I-5 corridor. Of course, all that snow coming to the Oregon and the Washington Cascades. So, forecast tomorrow on the west side of the Cascades, morning clouds, maybe a little bit of fog in parts of the Willamette Valley, then rain arriving in the afternoon. High temperature in Kelso and Longview, 51, 43 for Government Camp, and 55 down in Eugene. Now, east side, we're talking mostly cloudy skies here. A chance of some showers late in the day, at best about 20% chance. So mainly a dry day in central and eastern Oregon. 56 for your high for Pendleton. The same thing for John Day, and 54 in Bend. Now, pretty soggy 7-day forecast. So tomorrow, rain arriving late in the day and a high of 53. Rain all day on Wednesday, breezy as well with snow in the Cascades and 51. Cool showers here on Thursday and a high of 49. More wet weather ahead for you on Friday. Showers on Saturday. More rain on Sunday and Monday. Yep. Wet weather as well and a high of 53.
So you think it's going to be a little wet out there?
I think it's going to be a lot of wet out there, not a little wet.
Lashes out.
Okay.
There you go. Thanks, Dave.
Still to come on KATU News, several cyber trucks going up in flames. What we're learning about the investigation in Seattle as the ATF has been brought in.
Welcome back. Tonight, Seattle fire investigators are looking into what caused a fire that damaged 4 Tesla Cybertrucks.
Fire investigators have not said if the fire is suspicious, but Seattle police are now involved, and ATF investigators were also on the scene in South Seattle today, taking a look at the damage. Lynn Ann Wynn has the story.
Boom, big explosion, 8-foot tall flames, and yeah, one of these trucks just lit up by itself.
4 Tesla Cybertrucks heavily damaged by a fire in Soto. You can see on SDOT cameras as the fire starts and quickly grows out of control.
Well, at first it was just flickering, and then there was an explosion, and Yeah, the flames came up about 8-10 feet, and it was pretty bright. The lithium, the batteries, those cells, they go one after the other, and they keep popping, and it's hard to put them out.
Jay Fleming says he was out walking his dog when they noticed the fire, but didn't see anyone else around. Our cameras were there as ATF investigators, along with Seattle Fire, took photos of the damage. Seattle police are also investigating. Though the cause of the fire is still under investigation, it does raise questions on if this could be connected to recent Tesla protests locally and nationwide, speaking out against Elon Musk's involvement in federal spending cuts.
It's not my approach. It's not the approach of the people around me. So, it's just not the way we do things. And in some ways, I think it's not really helpful. I want people to see us as a peaceful movement.
Devin Hermanson has helped organize some local protests. He says they are not associated with the fire, and this is not what they stand for.
As long as people don't feel they're being heard, they're watching their democracy be dismantled, so they feel they have no other outlet, then they're going to start acting out in ways that sometimes we don't like. And I don't want that, but I can understand where it comes from.
And again, the cause of the fire is still under investigation. Tesla CEO Elon Musk has become a divisive figure in the Trump administration for his role with Doge and its involvement in the slashing of thousands of federal jobs over the past few weeks.
We have reported on several incidents at Tesla dealerships here in Oregon. Last Thursday, damage from gunfire was reported at the dealership in Tigard. Police say at least 7 shots were fired, damaging 3 cars and shattering a window. It was done overnight when no one was in the building. And a man has been charged after 2 incidents at a Salem Tesla dealership. One in January 20th when investigators say someone threw Molotov cocktails at the building. A car burned and a window was smashed. Then on February 19th, someone opened fire on the building. Police used surveillance video to link both incidents to Adam Lansky. He's now charged with illegally possessing an unregistered destructive device.
Well, of course, it's not just here in the Northwest. A Tesla dealership in Loveland, Colorado, targeted 5 times since January with what police called incendiary devices. A 40-year-old woman was arrested in connection with 4 of those incidents. And in Massachusetts, police are investigating a possible arson at a Tesla charging station that happened last Monday. They say 7 chargers were destroyed in that fire.
And still to come on KATU News, the city of Estacada getting ready to officially halt its Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Latest developments as City Council meets tonight.
I'm Christine Frizzau in Washington, where President Trump's immigration crackdown has reached new levels. More on a student arrested for helping to lead a campus protest last year.
And if you're watching us on KUNP right now, Trailblazers pre-show is up next. On KATU, we'll be back with more news after the break.
Welcome back. This is happening now. The city of Estacada is getting ready to put the final kibosh on its Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee.
The city council voted to axe the program a couple weeks ago, and tonight they plan to remove mention of the DEI committee from the Estacada Municipal Code. KATU's Thambi Verma joins us live with the details, but first, Thambi, can you explain what the DEI committee even was?
Well, Deb, great question. So it's a group of volunteers who, broadly speaking, were advising City Council on how to make the city more inclusive. For example, one of the responsibilities of the committee was outreach. That is, telling people how to get involved in local democracy. About 2 weeks ago, the council voted 5-2 in favor of ending the program. The public comment was full of people passionate on both sides of the issue. Some who felt that DEI unfairly caters more to people of color, while others felt that the program was simply an attempt at giving all people a fair shot.
DEI is being eliminated all across the country. Please just hire people on their merit and their abilities. And that's all I have to say.
I'm actually legally deaf. I wear 2 hearing aids, and I was born this way. It's because of things like DEI that you guys have those microphones now. You didn't used to have those.
Area where it's been more.
The DEI committee was created in 2020, and the first meeting was held in April of 2021. Now, just about 4 years later, the program is being shuttered, albeit there's different council members this time around. Coming up at 11, what the council decides to do in place of the DEI program, if anything at all. At the live desk, Tanvi Verma, KATU News.
Tanvi, thank you for that. And tonight, President Trump is talking about additional tariffs on major trading partners. Canada pushing back with tariffs on American goods, even threatening to withhold electricity from across the border.
The back and forth is triggering major economic uncertainty. Meanwhile, President Trump says the policies will pay off, says this is a period of transition, and hasn't ruled out the possibility of a recession this year. President Trump has called tariffs one of his favorite words, but today even the threat of them being imposed is sending uncertainty into the stock market and store checkout lines. Trump's hesitant to rule out a recession this year, asking Americans to be patient.
Oh, I think the tariffs are going to be the greatest thing we've ever done as a country. It's going to make our country rich again.
Trump paused a 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico last week. He now vows a 25% tariff will kick in on Wednesday against all foreign steel and aluminum. He has also promised reciprocal tariffs on countries who retaliate with tariffs of their own. The European Union has been in conversations with the U.S. to try and avert tariffs. Its commissioner claims U.S. officials aren't as interested.
We jointly identified a few areas that would allow us to move forward by fostering mutual benefits. But in the end, as it said, one hand cannot clap.
And Canada, which has just elected its new prime minister, enacted $30 billion of retaliatory tariffs on American imports, including orange juice, peanut butter, and appliances. The province of Ontario today slapped a 25% price increase on electricity it exports to 1.5 million Americans in New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. That's an extra cost of at least $200,000 a day.
If the Trump administration falls through on any more tariffs, we will not hesitate to shut off their power as well.
Moody's chief economist tells ABC News the risk of a recession started the year at around 15%. It is now up to 35% and rising.
Those recession fears sparking another market sell-off to start the week. Today's Dow dropped nearly 900 points, while the S&P 500 and NASDAQ saw similarly steep declines. Perhaps more worrying for traders is the performance of the so-called Magnificent Seven tech stocks. They all led the way in today's declines. Tesla stock tumbled 13%, Google's parent company, Alphabet, and Meta, along with AI darling Nvidia, all saw about a 5% drop in valuation. The other two, Palantir and Microsoft, were down 10% and 3% respectively. Amazon also saw a drop. All seven keep the bulk of the stock market afloat.
Former Oregon Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRemer has officially been confirmed as Labor Secretary. The vote gaining bipartisan support from more than a dozen Democrats today. Chavez DeRemer posted a statement saying she's deeply honored. She also promised to, quote, work tirelessly to put American workers first by fighting for good-paying jobs, safe working conditions, and secure retirement benefits. Chavez DeRemer will be in charge of nearly 16,000 employees and a $13.9 million budget.
Just in the last few hours, a federal judge halted the deportation of a Palestinian activist arrested on Saturday. The former graduate student with a green card was arrested and threatened with deportation as his wife, a U.S. citizen who's 8 months pregnant, stood by his side.
He's the first student who participated in pro-Palestinian protests to be arrested for what President Trump calls being a supporter of Hamas. Christine Frizzell reports there are concerns tonight this targeting of students who criticized Israel could just be getting started.
It was the center of the protest movement in this country, of Israel's war in Gaza. Columbia University buildings were broken into and overtaken, setting up clashes with police. Outside, an encampment stood for weeks. One of the protest leaders, former Columbia grad student and lawful permanent resident Mahmoud Khalil, has now been arrested by immigration agents. Hours later, filing a petition, there was no basis for his arrest. His attorney accusing the U.S. government of open repression of student activism and political speech. Secretary of State Marco Rubio posting his visa and green card and those of other, quote, Hamas supporters will be revoked. Part of President Trump's executive order to combat anti-Semitism and longtime pledge to go after protesters he and supporters say threatened the safety and well-being of Jewish students.
I will also quickly cancel the student visas of all Hamas sympathizers on college campuses.
The president in a post calling him a radical foreign pro-Hamas student, calling it the first arrest of many to come. Friends of Khalil dispute claims he was anti-Semitic or supported terrorism, insisting he was a mediator, with growing fears any criticism of Israel's government or policies could put targets on others.
It's very clear that these people who are screaming about anti-Semitism and accusations of terror against a very broad and diverse protest movement are not interested in keeping any Jews safe or anyone safe. They're interested in crushing dissent, and in this case, they're interested in punishing higher education.
The Trump administration also canceling $400 million in grants and contracts with Columbia University for failing to combat harassment of Jewish people on campus. Columbia University has now restricted access to its campus, as has nearby Barnard College. They are increasing security measures due to, quote, active concerns for violence. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzau.
Again, Khalil's deportation has been paused while the court considers his case. Another hearing has been scheduled for Wednesday. Khalil has not been charged with any crimes connected to his activities during the campus protests.
In the Middle East now, Hamas reportedly offering a 5 to 10-year truce with Israel, the terror group responsible for the deadly October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel, would agree to cease operations, both military and political, and not to reconstruct tunnels under Gaza. That's according to President Trump's hostage affairs envoy. Israel and Hamas are engaged in ongoing talks. Israel cut off electricity in Gaza Sunday as a pressure tactic. Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, is expected in Qatar tomorrow for ceasefire talks.
Iran says it will consider nuclear talks with the U.S. if the talks are confined to concerns about militarization. Iran's supreme leader rejects talks aimed at placing restrictions on Iran's missile program and regional influence. This comes after President Trump wrote a letter to Iran seeking a new deal to ensure Iran doesn't develop a nuclear weapon. In an interview with Fox News last week, Trump wouldn't rule out military intervention.
Well, there are two ways Iran can be handled, militarily or you make a deal. I would prefer to make a deal because I'm not looking to hurt Iran.
In 2018, Trump withdrew from the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, which set restrictions on Iran's developments in exchange for sanctions relief. He said the deal was no good for the U.S. Iran in return said the U.S. was untrustworthy and ramped up its nuclear program. Iran maintains that the program is peaceful.
An international coalition of more than 30 nations will discuss a security force for Ukraine. The talks will include European, Asian, and Oceania nations. Such a security force would focus on dissuading Russia from launching any new offensives in Ukraine after a ceasefire is agreed upon. The U.S. is not invited here. Europe wants to prove it can lead Ukraine's defense. President Trump said Sunday the U.S. wants to get closer to a ceasefire in talks with Russia and Ukraine happening in Saudi Arabia.
I think everybody wants to see it get done. We're going to make a lot of progress, I believe, this week.
Now, Ukraine is skeptical because Russia is in continued violation of a past ceasefire agreement. President Trump has paused military support to Ukraine and maintained sanctions on Russia as a bargaining chip.
Taking a live look now at the Vatican, Pope Francis is no longer in imminent danger from his condition, according to his doctors, who are lifting their guarded prognosis for the pontiff today. The 88-year-old has been hospitalized for nearly a month after being diagnosed with a respiratory infection and pneumonia in both lungs. The Vatican says the Pope will need to remain in the hospital for several more days to continue treatment, but he remains stable and continues to improve. The Pope is following along with the Vatican's week-long spiritual retreat via video conference.
37 people survived this fiery collision between a U.S. oil tanker and a Portuguese cargo ship. Some crew members jumped into the North Sea waters when the explosions began. Everyone was rescued and only one person was hospitalized. It happened about 10 miles off the coast of England near the port of Grimsby this morning. It wasn't immediately clear what caused the crash. The port CEO says it's a mystery given the amount of technology on ships these days.
With the vessels, they set a course. So there will be a course that would have been set. So you would presume that they would have known that they were on a particular course. So you wouldn't expect that a vessel would berth, would tie up as at anchor in a shipping lane.
The tanker was one of 10 contracted to supply jet fuel to the military when emergencies or other needs arise. Crews will assess the environmental impact of the crash, and scientists say it should be less severe than a crude oil spill.
Up next in sports, Portland Winterhawks had 2 victories in Veterans Memorial Coliseum this weekend. Sports director Tyree Smith has the action.
And dry skies begin the week, but it's not going to end that way. Some very wet and chilly conditions ahead. I have all the forecasts and 7-day forecast.
This is the Xfinity Sports Zone on KATU News.
I was hoping Deb would wear a tie-dye today for this occasion.
I am.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Not just my socks.
Well, there you go.
We gotta love mixing colors around to make tie-dye, right? Yeah. My friends, it was a wonderful evening at the Motor Center last night, celebrating the greatest blader of all time, Bill Walton, and everything was tie-dye as the team honored the legacy of life of Mr. Walton. He passed away last May after a long battle with cancer. Fans were given a special tie-dye headband in honor of the Big Red, and Walton's family, friends, and teammates came to pay tribute to the man who led the Blazers to their first and only championship in 1977.
The older I get, the more I understand that, they are still here in spirit, and that, last night, we just spent time talking about the good times that we had, and nobody's talking about somebody's passed on. It's about when they were here, and I think that's a beautiful thing as well. And you mourn, and then you move forward.
Loved all of what they did last night at the Motor Center. Now, while the Blazers did lose last night, 119-112, there was a basketball game. There's another opportunity tonight on the road against the Golden State Warriors. Tip-off 7 p.m. and you can watch the game on KUMP or K22.2. And after the game, folks, it's episode 66 of the Rip City Wrap-Up. Join Danny Murray, Joe Simons, and I as we'll be breaking it down. There's 16 more to go. Feels crazy that we've done 66 of these. Make sure you guys tune in on KUMP and K22.2, or you can also stream it on YouTube. Now, my friends, right next to the Motor Center, y'all gotta forget Veterans Memorial Coliseum and the Hawks. Well, they had a home game against Everett. Spoiler alert, they won 3-2, but the real victory was for the puck drop. Winterhawks inducted 2 legends into their Hall of Fame this weekend, Jim Benning and Braden Coburn. Benning was the Winterhawks defenseman from 1979 to 1981 and switched to the front office that worked for decades. And Coburn was in the Rose City from 2001 to 05, was the WHL Rookie of the Year, and 2 years as Portland captains before a 17-season career with the NHL with New York, Ottawa, and Tampa Bay.
This whole week's brought back a lot of good memories of when I played here and the history of the team, and so it's been a fun week.
Really something that touched me, and I just, I loved being a Winterhawk. I loved that I came here when, I was 15 years old and left when I was 19 and made so many friends and learned so many things and really grew up here. So it's a special place for me and a very special honor.
And then you got to make sure to keep a track with the March Madness stuff we got on, Conference Championship. A lot of sports going on in Rose City. Got to get out there and support.
Show your tie-dye socks, Deb.
No, we're not showing socks on the news.
People want to see it.
Let's talk about weather.
Let's do it. We want to get a live look now at the Columbia River Gorge from our Visit Hood River cam. We may have sprung. I'm just getting slapped right now. I want you to know
because
that.
You mentioned the tie-dye socks.
Okay.
We have not yet sprung into spring. I can tell you that much.
No.
Dave Selesky is tracking some chilly weather ahead.
You might as well just
Would
show
you
us.
just go on with it?
Okay.
Wet weather.
Wet weather, yes.
That's you.
Wet weather. It's sucks. So we'll talk about what's going on out there right now from our sky cam in Spanish Head, Lincoln City. Dry skies there, even a few breaks in the overcast. We'll call it mostly cloudy skies. 46 the current temperature this hour there. Up in the Gorge, Hood River, 46 degrees the current temperature as well, with, again, mostly cloudy skies there. Downtown Portland from our Standard Insurance Tower, it is, again, mostly cloudy. 52 is our current temperature, which is also the daytime high today, by the way. So 51 in the Dalles and also in Vancouver this hour. A bit warmer in Redmond, you're at 54 degrees. Out east, Baker City at 48, and on the Oregon coast, cooler, 46 for Newport. Same thing in Tillamook this hour. Now, here's the hour-by-hour forecast. So again, we have an approaching cold front moving in this evening. Overcast, guys, maybe a few light rain showers out there overnight, but the real rain, that does not start until about 24 hours from right now. As this front moves on in, We get in towards the afternoon, rain developing, snow in the Washington Cascades. We'll see snow coming down in the Oregon Cascades, about 3,500 feet. And then going from Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday, Wednesday into Thursday and beyond, plan on some fairly wet weather out there and plenty of snow in the Cascades, so that by Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, we're looking at a winter weather advisory up, and this pattern will continue all the way through the latter part of the week and even in towards the weekend. Now, overnight lows this evening, we're dropping down into the upper 30s and low 40s across the area. With the increasing clouds and the wetter weather for tomorrow, highs back up into the low to mid 50s out there. Same story going into Thursday. Now, watches and warnings again tomorrow, or excuse me, by Wednesday, we have a winter weather advisory up for the Oregon Cascades all the way from the California border to the Columbia River and now up into parts of western Washington as well. That'll go through Thursday for upwards of 6 to 11 inches of snow, maybe more in some locations. School day forecast for tomorrow. Well, the day starts out dry and temperature right around 40 degrees for that first bell. But by the end of the school day, we're talking fairly soggy conditions and temperatures will be in the low 50s. Now, the rest of the forecast. Tomorrow for the coast, cloudy skies, rain developing in the afternoon. High of 49 tomorrow for Astoria. Same thing up in Waco and 51 in Lincoln City. Moving now into the Willamette Valley. Clouds and some fog in the morning. Then rain arriving by the afternoon. Light and variable winds throughout the day. 51 for your high in Scappoose and 52 for Salem. For the Gorge of the Cascades, mostly cloudy skies. Rain again arriving in the afternoon. Snow tomorrow about 3,500 feet. Going to be kind of slushy. Real snow does not really begin until probably on Wednesday as the snow levels begin to drop down below the pass level. 43 for your high tomorrow for Government Camp. Central and Eastern Oregon, mostly cloudy skies here. Chances of some showers late in the day. 51 in Burns, 54 for Bend, and 56 in Pendleton. Okay, 7-day forecast. It's soggy. Tomorrow, again, rain developing in the afternoon, a high of 53. Rain all day here on Wednesday and fairly breezy as well, 51 for the high. Showers for you on Thursday, 49 and 39, low in the high. 37 and 48, rainy and windy for you on Friday. Heading in towards Saturday, more showers. Sunday, more rain. And next Monday, it is St. Patrick's Day. It's going to be wet. 53 for the high temperature.
That's your lucky day, isn't it?
Until it's that wet. Depends how wet it's going to be.
It's going to be wet.
Umbrella.
Yes, I'm going to take a lucky umbrella, a green one.
And tie-dye.
Tie-dye umbrella.
Yeah.
There you go.
Still ahead in science and tech, using AI to detect and diagnose epilepsy, what it sees that human eyes do not.
Tonight in science and tech news, Elon Musk's social media network X has been battling through outages all day long. He says the site is under attack. He says there's an ongoing cyber attack that's taken X offline sporadically. He suspects it's a large coordinated group attack or the work of a hostile country, he says here. The source has not been confirmed, but Musk says X is investigating. Celine Dion is warning her fans to beware of fake AI-generated songs appearing online imitating her. She didn't name any particular recordings, but the use of AI is an increasing source of debate in the music industry. Last April, more than 200 artists, including Billie Eilish and Katy Perry, signed an open letter speaking out against AI-related threats in the music industry. Scientists in London are using AI to detect previously invisible brain abnormalities too subtle for standard detection methods that cause epilepsy. The tool called MELD-GRAPH spots around 2/3 of the tiny abnormalities that human radiologists often miss on scans. The tool is not yet clinically available, but the team is training clinicians and researchers worldwide on its use.
Our team's getting ready for our next newscast tonight as a pair of universities in the Pacific Northwest are under investigation for anti-Semitic discrimination and harassment. We'll share what could happen if they do not fulfill their obligations under Title VI. That's coming up tonight at 11. In the meantime, you can get up-to-the-minute information anytime by going to our website, KATU.com. Be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter at KATU News to get updates on stories important
Getting
to you.
a lot of viewers right now. I want to see the socks.
Yeah.
I want to see the socks. That's what they're all
We're
saying.
out of time. That does it for our KATU News at 6. We'll see you right here for more news at 11.
See the socks. See the socks. See the socks.
Thanks for watching K2 News.